the Student of the Game podcast, where we break down the life, strategy, and advice of successful individuals who are students of their own game and masters of their own craft. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to the episode.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Student of the Game podcast. I'm Tim Stone here with my co-host Nick Galbraith and Ian Cushing. Today, our special guest is Mr. Jabbar Adesada. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, Tim, it's great to be on.
It's going to be hard to fit this in 1 hour because I feel like every time we're on the phone, it goes for at least 2 hours. But everybody's gonna be in for a treat. Jabbar is I'm gonna let him tell us a little bit about himself. So go ahead, tell us your story.
All right, so how did I get into real estate? Or
first, tell everyone how old you are, what you do, and what you do in real estate.
All right,
I think that's the big thing.
All right, gotcha. All right, so my name is Jabbar Adesada. I am a 20-year-old United States Marine. I'm stationed in Beaufort, South Carolina. So what I do in real estate is I am doing Airbnb short-term rentals. I have a cabin in the Great Smoky Mountains, and then I have a really great rent-by-the-bedroom house hack in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, and then that is pretty crazy for someone who's 20 years old and full-time in the Marines. So let's go back a little bit. Tell us about sort of your upbringing and how you got to where you're at now, and we'll unpack everything there.
All right, I got you. So I'm gonna try and keep this story short because you guys know I'm a talker. So I grew up in like a middle class Nigerian American or Nigerian household. So I'm Nigerian American, and like the culture there is just like education. I know that's actually pretty common with immigrants. So so when I was growing up, I lived with my mom. My parents got divorced when I was 3 years old. And when I was growing up, my parents or my family, like my mom and her family side of the things, they actually were physically and mentally abusive towards me. So all my life, I was growing up trying to like live this version or trying to live up to like this standard that I was going to be like this, like Harvard grad, do all these crazy different things, because that's like the dream for every Nigerian parent is like they want to see their kid go to like an Ivy League or whatever. And like every day I would just, I was just like a walking disappointment in my household because I really didn't, it wasn't that I wasn't smart. I just didn't care for school. It wasn't something that I enjoyed or I was passionate about. So that's basically it. So then when I was 15, I actually was taken away from my house to live with my dad. So I had to move from Maryland to Texas when I was 15. And that's when like my entire life changed. So my dad, he's not an entrepreneur, but he wanted better for me and he knew what I've been through. So he would always put in my head like, investing, business, stocks, he never, not really real estate, but just like, hey, like you see that, let's say daycare, like imagine like how much these people are making, or if you ever make an app, like you can make all this like billions of dollars and be wealthy. So that kind of like intrigued me. And then at this point, I was also like really deep into basketball, right? So basketball was what I was trying to do, that I was trying to go to the NBA. And my dad supported it. When I was in Maryland, no one supported it. But I wasn't very good. But I grinded super hard like Kobe. Like I'd wake up 5 a.m. workout, go back at like 12 p.m. workout again. And then after school, I'd work out from 6 and yada, yada, yada. And so when I was 15, though, my pastor gave me an assignment to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like it was just like a church assignment. And, it had nothing to do with basketball. Basketball was my only focus. And I was like, I'm not going to read this stuff. So I just decided I just blew it off. So then one day my dad brought me into his room and it was like both of my basketballs, like these two basketballs, and he pops both of them. And then he like tells me to go read the book and write an essay on it. And he like bars me, like bans me from playing basketball ever again. Like, So at that point, I was like, okay, so basketball is not going to work out. So I got to find something else to do. So I was just thinking like, all right, well, let me try this school thing out, right? So like this point, like I'm going to be a junior in high school. I had terrible grades. The first 2 years of high school, I was like, let me just like, try a little bit. So I started focusing on school. I was like, I'm gonna be a doctor because like that's what every African kid does. They're like, it's like either you're a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or disappointment. Since I was like not gonna be a disappointment basketball player anymore, I chose doctor because that's the next best thing. And so I was doing pretty well in school, like all A student, turned it all around, and that senior year comes and they're telling you like, hey, like when, like what are you gonna do, like what are you gonna do with your life, or how, like, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna go to college. And then I see all that debt that doctors get into. So I was like, it's not as appealing when you're when you have like 12 years of school but you're like $400,000 in debt. So I was like thinking of different ways, and I was lazy. Like I'm like the classic C kid, lazy student. So one day I saw the man in dress blues in my cafeteria handing out cards and doing pull-ups and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, like, you ever thought about joining the Marines? And I was like, I haven't, but like, what you guys got? Like, so I told him what my plans are for being a doctor and everything. And he basically, I wouldn't say he lied to me, but he told me what I wanted to hear. He gave me like this plan made up. I put quotation marks for anyone listening on how I could like use the Marine Corps to become a doctor. So that kind of solved my problems, not being a student debt, but still getting to be a doctor. And I get to be like a cool kid, right? I get to like play Call of Duty in real life, or at least that's what he said. So after high school, leave, join the Marine Corps, and you go through different phases of training. So I go through boot camp, and like I was at this point I'm 17 turning 18. So at this point I'm 18 years old. Finished boot camp. I have like $2,500, and it's the most money I've ever had in my life. Like $2,500 was like a lot to me then. So I had, keep in mind, I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've written an essay about it. I kind of have an idea of what to do with money. So what do I do with that? I spend it because I'm 18 years old. So I spend like most of it. I gave like $1,000 to my parents and spent like the majority of it on clothes and gadgets and stuff. And eventually, that's when I need to shorten this. So eventually, that's when I go through another phase of training and I meet like a multimillionaire named Phil who hosted me at his house. And he gave me like I mean, a different, he gave me just a different idea of what like is possible in life. Like to give you a perspective on like what Phil's life is like. He's the type to like just come home from work randomly and surprise his daughter with a trip to Paris one weekend, or like go scuba diving in the afternoon and skydiving in the morning or something like that. Like this man's life is amazing. He travels everywhere. So I was like, well, I want to be like that guy when I grow up, right? So I went down like this huge personal finance journey. Your Meet Kevins, your Grand Steffens, investing into the stock market. Now I'm like a cheap bastard because I don't. Now instead of spending everything I make, I'm like hoarding money and investing everything I have into the stock market. And so at one point, so this is, let's say, over like a 6-month period, I went from like $0 or $400 in my checkings account to like $30,000 from saving and investing. So stocks are cool, don't get me wrong, but like after, you can only do so many like when will I be a millionaire calculations with it. And I was like, man, this is still going to take me like a long time to be a millionaire, because like, and like then I was like, oh well, a millionaire with stocks, that's only $40,000 a year in passive income once I get to that $1 million, that $1 million net worth mark. So then I started exploring different alternatives to getting to that like financial freedom mark a lot earlier. And someone sent me Bigger Pockets, and I was hooked. I listened to every single episode, like literally every single episode of the OG show, the Real Estate Rookie show, the Money show, some of the business podcasts, and read a bunch of books. And I was like, I'm doing this. Like I can, be financially free way sooner. So that was the very long story of kind of what got me on that trend and that track.
Jabbar, thank you for just diving in there. Absorbing your story. I mean, just growing up in an environment where a lot of your family is very hard on you, and you can kind of see that you're 20 years old and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to succeed, right? So I think it's a blessing now of what you're doing and what your dream is now, and I think that's a hidden blessing in your story, as well as meeting, was it the name Jim, where you
Phil.
saw Phil and modeling Phil, and you're like, whoa. What is this? This guy's taking trips to Paris. He's, going scuba diving. He's adventurous. I mean, you can just see that in your vision. And when you ran into bigger pockets, you were just a sponge, because you're like, this is the information I need to absorb. First episode, you're like, okay, I'm taking all this in, because that's what's going to get me that vision, my life of financial freedom. So, I mean, you have an amazing story, and I can't wait to dive into a little deep dive into your deals and projects that you're working on now, but it's awesome.
So, I mean, let's talk about the real estate. What was the first property you bought, and how did that process go?
Yeah, so my first property was that house hack in Savannah, Georgia. So that deal was very, very interesting, right? Because at this point I did have $30,000 saved up from investing just purely in stocks, but I didn't have any credit. I didn't have like the regular 2 years of job history, and I didn't really have, I just didn't fit in like that box that a lot of mortgage officers want you to be in. So I'm going through this process of, trying to get approved for a mortgage, because I obviously needed a loan to buy my first property. And like all of them were just telling me no, man. So I called 13 different lenders, and all of them had told me no. They're just like, it's not happening. One of the lenders, he was like, yeah, man, I've had like 20 years of experience. Like, I'm telling you, like, you're just going to have to wait. Like, there's no way. Because, I'd argue with them. I'm not trying to take no for an answer. I'm like, I want to buy this real estate now. So then after like that 13th bank, I called another one. And then that's when I heard my first maybe. So that's when I started and when I got that maybe, then I started doing a little bit more research to learn what questions to ask, like figuring out like, how can I do this? Like, instead of saying like, you take the rejection and, you just deal with it. I was just like, how is this possible? Like, how can I do this with what I have going on right now? So eventually I came up with this plan that I was going to co-borrow with somebody, basically like a co-signer, but a co-borrower. They're just buying the property with you essentially. And that was going to solve all my problems. So I went ahead, and now instead of calling loan officers, I'm calling every single person in my family, in my phone book, in my network. And I'm like, hey, let's do this thing, blah, blah, blah. So my family first started with them. They all told me no. And I feel like it's harder actually to get your family on board with things, because they just seen you screw up so many times. So they're a little bit more skeptical.
Yeah, maybe if you were a doctor, they would have said yes.
I know, right? Maybe if I wasn't such a disappointment. And then, so that's when I was like, all right, my family is not happening. So I started calling up friends. But I was strategic about it this time. I'm like, all right, let me call my friends who have income, or like, they have something going for themselves. So that I start calling other Marines. So I started calling all these other Marines, and like I promise you not, it was like 3 phone calls with them, and like all 3 of them were interested in like going on this joint venture together. Crazy. It's like I think about this all the time. It feels like strangers will make you rich, because like all the people who have given me opportunities to like invest in real estate, I didn't know them like probably a couple months before, I gave them the big ask. So that happened. And so then I go back to lender A, and I'm like, who gave me the chance? I was like, hey, I'm able to co-borrow on this loan. I have everything that you need. Let's do this thing. And he's like, actually, if you put 5% down and use your VA loan, you don't need to co-borrow with anybody. You can buy this thing by yourself. And so the reason why that was able to work is because my credit score, like that 6 month of like credit history, was like that day, literally, when he gave me that phone call. So I got lucky there. Because I'm active duty in the Marine Corps, I don't really need the 2 years of job history because I have a contract saying he's going to be employed for this long. And then VA loans, there are different guidelines, so it makes it easier to qualify. So my DTI could be literally like 60%, and I could still get approved for a mortgage. And then like I had the capital, so at this point I didn't have to co-borrow with anybody. So I had everything I needed, and I closed on the property. So now, right, everything's good. I have the property. I'm getting ready to put tenants in there, and then literally,
And then
like
what happened?
last minute, the Marine Corps, they told me, hey, so we're sending you to this field exercise in the middle of the desert. You're gonna have spotty Wi-Fi, so make sure that you take care of all your stuff, and you're leaving in a week. Yeah, you're gonna. so I literally had like no tenants or anything in place, and I had like a week to go ahead and try and get this property rented out. And, I'm mad. I'm heated. I'm like, I didn't buy this thing to pay my own mortgage. I bought this thing so other people could pay my mortgage. So instead of me, just complaining and like taking it for the third time, I'm a little bit persistent here. When I went to the field, I literally created like never done this before. I created like an entire system and plan. And like I just basically trained a buddy of mine who knew nothing about real estate to do the process of moving tenants in and getting people in the house and interviewing them and stuff like that. But I created like a step-by-step Barney style checklist for him. So that worked a lot better. He did it probably 80% as well as I would have. And he ended up renting out all 5 of the rooms before I got back, which was pretty awesome. So I got back with 5 people I've never met or seen before in my life living in my house, which was great. But he screened them pretty well. They all, they're all pretty good. They all pay rent on time and stuff. And the deal ended up being pretty great. So to talk about the numbers a little bit on that first deal, so I put 5% down, right? Because I couldn't qualify or because I couldn't get like the 0% down benefit because I didn't have enough like loan pre-approval on this $246,000 house plus closing costs and furniture. I was all into this house for $22,000. And today I'm renting that house out. And I live in it too. I just sleep on a futon because I don't need a bedroom. But today I rent out the entire, like I receive gross rents every month of $3,800 a month. So when my mortgage is only $1,200 and I'm collecting like $3,800 a month in rent, I mean, it ends up being like a stupid deal, like 70% like cash on cash or something like that. Granted, I put 5% down, but it's not like your typical, $200, $300 a month in cash flow. I collect anywhere from, I like to say like $1,300 to $1,500 is pretty much what I'm netting on a monthly basis because I set aside a good bit for like CapEx and maintenance and stuff like that. But that was the first deal.
So that's like a 200% ROI house hack. I just sort of did the math over here. So he put about 20,000 into it, and he collects about 45,000 a year.
Yeah, and just a big part of that is to go back a little bit. Dude, you didn't quit. You didn't quit hitting up banks. You're like, I'm gonna figure this out, and you just keep going with it. And lenders who have 20 years experience are like, dude, Jabbar, you just need to like go back home and make some more money. Build up your credit score. You just need to get, chill out, dude. And you're like, no. Listen here, buddy. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to educate myself and go through it. So that's an amazing point. I just wanted to highlight there, Jabbar. That's amazing.
Yeah. And how many lenders do you have to talk to get a yes? Well, to get a maybe and then a yes.
So number 14 was the maybe. I spoke to 19 banks in total.
Wow. And you went back to the maybe and it turned into a yes. Yeah. So I think the coolest part about your story is that, one, you were doing this at 19 years old, so that shows that pretty much anyone could do this, and two, you were doing it as a full-time Marine, and you rented the property from across the country in the desert on the field. You just made it happen, sort of who not how type of thing. Not how can I do this, who can I get to do that? And like you said, maybe he did 80% of what you could have done, but there's like the thing, like you hire 2 people that are 80% as good as you. Well, together they're 160% as good as you. So it's the power of who, not how. So I think that when I hear your story, there's a ton of people that I just want to listen. I want them to listen to it. It's like, yeah, anyone could do this. Like you were probably in the like least convenient situation to buy a house, and you still made it happen. And then now you double your money every year on it. Just like just to be honest, there, like that's pretty crazy, but like you could do it. And is this something you feel like pretty much anyone could do?
Yeah, and like the reason why I like telling that story is not to brag that like look at me, I'm this macho guy that can overcome everything. It's really to say like whenever you have an obstacle in front of you, like just jump over it, right? Like don't take no for answer and just ask how you can get it done. Like I have people who DM me all the time who are like wanting to get started, but they come to me with like from positions of weakness with what they don't have. Like, oh, I don't have any money, or oh, I don't have a credit score, I don't have this, or I don't have that. It's like, okay, so what do you have though? And so then you identify what you do have. So what else do you need? And so bring all those things that you need and get a deal done. Because the great thing about real estate, like I couldn't do this with stocks, right? Like for me to get, let's say, what I'm netting every month in with like in real estate with stocks, I'd need like a couple $100,000 to get the same type of dividend. With real estate, you're able to leverage all the pieces that you're missing. So like, and we'll talk about this next. Like with the $600,000 property I bought in the Great Smoky Mountains, I didn't have that. Like our cash investment was like $80,000. I didn't have the money, but I didn't have a way to qualify for $600,000. You guys just heard me talk about how I could barely do it on 246. I just thought like, okay, well, what do I have? Well, I have knowledge, I have expertise, I have time, right? I have resources. I know people who are crushing it. Okay, so what do I need to go ahead and get? I need to get a partner. I need someone who can qualify for the loan. I need the money. I need someone who can give me the money to invest in the deal. So you kind of have to, like, especially as a young person, the value of time and then the value of like all this energy is like your unfair advantage. So everyone has these unfair advantages, and you just kind of have to take advantage of the one that you have. Because in real estate, the amazing thing, and I wanted to say this before, is like you need time, money, and experience. And I would argue you only need half of one of those. Like you don't even need all the time or all the experience or all the you don't need all three. You don't even need one. I'd say you probably need like you have to have an idea of what you're doing, but it's like incredibly possible for anybody to do what I did. You just kind of have to get the rest or the ingredients to cook up your dish, you know?
And so doing it for the second time, would you mind walking us through that second deal and how you went from the first one to the next? Because that's a major jump. 240 to 600.
Yeah, right. So like, and I could talk about this one. So, and because people think I want to get like the mindset behind it is once you listen to Bigger Pockets, right? And what did they tell you? Like a good deal is like $100-$200 a month in cash flow. Like when I'm starting to make like $1,500, like just net, not worrying about anything on like a regular basis, I don't want to go back to a couple $100 a month in cash flow. Like I'm in this thing for that financial freedom.
I think Brandon Turner's rule in multifamily is $100 per door in cash flow.
Yeah, like I mean, if I'm buying a quadplex, that's only $400, dude. Like, no, and we're young, right? We don't want to wait 20 years from now. We want stuff right now, almost. Like there's still some level of instant gratification to this. So I'm trying to get my rooms rented, and I'm just networking still because I'm like, well, I want to talk to other people who are doing it, who are killing it in the game of real estate. So I was networking with this one dude. And he owned like 3 cabins. He owns 6 now. And his 3 cabins in the Smokies, he was netting like over $150,000 a year on 3 properties. And like I was like, wait a second, like that doesn't make sense. Like 3 properties in your net, like you're talking about your cash flow. What you're getting in the bank a year, is $150,000. Like take my money. I'll give away my kidney, for that for that money. Those are great deals. And he's like, yeah, man, like it's such a great market. And he was really like, he wasn't selling me on it, but when the way he was talking about it, I was just like, okay, I need to figure out how to do this. So it goes back to that, like, who, not how, like, how can I do this mentality? I was like, all right, look at, you go on Realtor, you go on Zillow, and you just get slapped in the face with like the price tag. You're like, 600,000. Oh shoot. All right. So that's a pretty, at first, right now I'm looking at deals that are $1 million, but $600,000 to me at that time, I was like, holy smokes, that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of down payment I would need. So instead of me saying, all right, too expensive, I'm gonna wait till I'm like 40 when I have more money to do this, I was like, all right, well, how can I do this now where I'm at right now? Like, with what I have going on right now, how can I buy this $600,000 property? So I'm brainstorming, and I'm like, okay, I need a key principle, because I listen to the podcast, so I know that other people have been in similar situations and bought much bigger deals. So I'm like, all right, I need a key principal or equity partner, someone who's going to guarantee the debt, get the mortgage, and then I need the capital, right? So I'm like, let me first try and see if the key principal and the capital can be the same person. So I go on this, yet again, call of every single person I know. And I'm not even just asking people, I'm asking randos on Twitter, on Discords, on everything, like, trying to pitch them on this idea, like, hey, we're going to buy these cabins, you're going to get amazing returns and yada, yada, yada. And man, let me tell you, this one's funny. So my first time, like, trying to pitch somebody like this master game plan, right, to buy like a super exuberantly expensive cabin in the Smokies. And you're going to guarantee the debt, you're going to put up all the money, and I'm going to manage it, put it together, and take 50%. I'm like, that was like the original pitch. Like, I was on the phone with this lady, and like, I was so nervous. I'm on the phone with her, and like, I just like I pretended like to hang up the phone, or I pretended like the call dropped and hung up the phone so I could like regather myself and like, and continue to pitch her. But I was like, my voice was shaking on the phone and everything. I was just looking super. It was so bad. Granted to say, that lady did not give me money, by the way. But I did that. But doing that actually helped. So I did that a bunch of times, and I was getting better and better at pitching people. And so eventually, I was like, okay, how about you get the person to guarantee the debt, and you get the person to bring in the money? Like, make those people separate, because when you're pitching people to do it as someone with no experience or only one real estate deal, you don't have like the credibility to do that. Tony Robinson, I don't know if you guys know Rob Built. That's their strategy. They get people to guarantee the debt and put in all the capital, and then they split the cash flow 50-50. But that's Tony Robinson and Rob Built, like people who have done this before, who have a huge following. So didn't work for me, but what ended up happening is I'm just throwing out in the universe, right? I'm like saying, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, and I'm telling everybody. And so one person tells the right person what my idea is, and that person just happens to say, like, hey, I have all this money sitting in the bank, like I'll give you money, right? And so this person, how do I say? I guess I can say it now. He's like my master sergeant. So in the military, I was a lance corporal, right? E3, master sergeant's like all the way up here. We don't talk, we don't communicate. Like, this is like your HR if we're talking corporate. The only thing he's seen from me, like conversation wise, is if the only way I'm talking to him is if I'm in trouble, essentially. But he ended up like pulling me into his office one day, and he was like, hey man, like, I have all this money and I see what you're doing. I saw all the commitment that you were putting in, and all like your mentality when you were buying your first deal and renting it out from a distance. And I believe in you. So literally walked into his office. I didn't even pitch him. He was like, I don't even care about the deal. I don't care about the details. I'm investing in you. So he was like, how much you need and what are the terms? I told him. He was like, sweet, I'll wire you the money when you need it. So now I have the money, right? And I want people to realize that this wasn't like luck. This was me putting out there and telling every single person I knew that this is what I wanted and this was what I was looking for. I wouldn't have never thought to ask him. He came to me. But that was because I was constantly putting out there, I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking to do this. This is, what I'm trying to say. So that's something important, is like, tell everybody what you're doing and what you're looking for, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come. And then with the equity partner piece, right? Now I have the money. So now I'm pitching people a different way. I'm like, hey, I just need you to guarantee the debt. I already have the capital. Like, let's do this thing. Tons of no's there, because still I don't have experience. People think I'm crazy. So again, someone came into my mastermind. I'm in a mastermind called Sheik's Freaks, and he was talking about doing Airbnbs. But he was getting like terrible return. Like I don't want to throw him out there like that, but to me, 10% on the Airbnb is back. He's house hacking it, but 10% on the Airbnb, like, I would rather put that money in the stock market. But anyway, so he's talking about like, hey, I'm getting 10% on my Airbnb in Austin. I'm like, dude, like, look at this pro forma. Like, I have several deals that I've analyzed here that are hitting like 30, 40, even 50%. You guys hear me?
Yep. We lost you for a second. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear
you.
you.
You're good. Okay, keep going.
All right. So I'm telling them, like, I have these deals that are doing like 30, 40, 50%, right? And so we just talk, right? And I'm venting to him, like, and we like initial conversation, let's hop on the phone, bro. Like, I wasn't trying to pitch him or anything. And I'm venting to him how I have like this amazing opportunity, but like everyone keeps on telling me no, and I have no idea why. And at the end of my vent, he goes, dude, like, that sounds awesome. Like, I'm interested. Let me just talk to my wife. So I was like, really? That's actually crazy. I was kind of upset a little bit because I had put all this work into presentations and stuff and was getting told no, but I'm just like talking to someone in passing and now they agree. And I just met this dude like 15 minutes ago. But yeah, so that's kind of how that came into fruition, is now I have the partner and then now I have the money. And then eventually we did this thing. We didn't like say we're going to buy a whole bunch of properties like some ambiguous LLC. We said, hey, we're going to date and partner on this one deal. We have a planned dissolution. We got lawyers involved and everything with writing our operating agreement, everything kosher. We made about 10 offers in that market. And then the 9th one got accepted, or the 10th one, sorry. The 10th one ended up getting accepted. And now that deal is a money printer. So he's very, very happy. The person who gave me the money is very, very happy. And, we're all singing like Kumbaya, right? But it's great, right? Because now it gives me more to add to my track record. So now I'm not even looking for partners anymore. Partners are actually coming to me, which is kind of nice, to do more deals together. And I'm not having to do all this scrambling, but that was all a result of like the work that I put in when, I've analyzed literally over 1,000 of deals, like done the underwriting of over 1,000 deals. I know because Bigger Pockets told me, they're like, because I use their calculator. They're like, congratulations, you've analyzed 1,000 deals, something grandmaster or whatever. I put in the work. Like, I did all these things to prepare myself to get to a point where now, like, all I need is deals. Like, it's crazy. Now, before I had all the deals but no money. Now I have the money but no deals. It's kind of ironic, but yeah, that's basically how this second one came into fruition.
I like where you said earlier that it feels like strangers can make you rich. And I kind of want to touch on that. And I know I've said this quote before, but it's a Grant Cardone quote that everything you want in life is in the hands of someone you haven't met yet. So how did, once you realized that, like, how did your perspective change on doing deals and making a real estate business work?
Well, actually, Tim, the crazy thing is, like, meeting people like you and hearing your story, and then meeting other people who, like, their success is hugely because of one relationship. And it just changed my mind to say, like, I need to just focus on prioritizing like the relationships that I'm building with others. Cause like, you're literally literally one relationship away from like your entire life changing. And like that's not something you can like calculate, but what you can do to control that is like keep on adding value to people and keep on putting yourself around people who are doing what you want to do. Because like now it's like, okay, let's say I want to buy a 30 unit apartment building as a 20-year-old Marine with the income that I'm making from the Marine Corps, which isn't much. I want everyone to know it's like less than $20,000 a year. It's horrible from the Marine Corps anyways. But I can just go and I just need to keep on adding value to people who are in that space. I need to add value to guys like Tim who are already in the game. I need to add value to guys who are who I know who are buying apartment deals. And if I don't know anyone buying apartment deals, I need to go make friends, So I think that's one thing that changed my mind, or that opened my eyes, is like your net worth, as cliche as it sounds, is truly your net worth. Sorry. Your net worth is truly your net worth. So just be out there and just add value as much as possible. And I hope people hear me say add value. Like, don't come to people and say, hey, can you be my mentor? It's like, you see an opportunity to help someone, you do that and you expect nothing in return, because eventually that will come back to you. And it is so true. And that's really how I am building my business. And before, like the trajectory that I am on just keeps on elevating as I continue to meet people and prioritize those relationships.
So say this podcast is the tipping point for someone. They're listening to you talk about this and they realize, okay, like this is what I need to do. What are some practical steps they could take to provide value to someone knowing very little about real estate and just beginning on the journey?
Okay. Yeah. So that is great. That's a great question. One thing I do tell people, because I found that a lot of people skip the education phase. They just want to get in. I tell them, hey, because I have people DM me. They're like, are you looking like to mentor people? I'm like, no, like not. But I tell them, you don't need a mentor. Go on listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast, start at episode 1 and listen to every single last one of them. I guarantee you like 99% of them won't do it. But I'd say like prioritize that education, make sure that you're learning. And if you want to add value to people, like the things that you can do is connect people, like start a meetup. Like that is like literally one of the easiest things you can do is like start a meetup. What is a real estate investor's biggest issue most of the time for rookies and maybe even experienced people? It's deals and it's money. Like that's like how can I find a good deal? And then it's how do I buy the deal, right? So host a meetup and grab people with experience who are really good at finding deals, or find people who are lending money or different, or people who are in the game and who are just well-rounded. They figured out a way to finance all their deals, or figured out a way to like increase their lead generation so that deal flow is not a problem for them. Like bring those people together. And that is one way that you, with someone with no experience and, not a lot of resources, can add value to one of these bigger players. Especially if you're young, like, dude, hop on there. So be their social media manager. I have a friend, I'm not going to name his name, but he charges people a lot of money to grow and nurture their social medias. If you can come up to an experienced investor who doesn't have a huge or great social media presence, and like just say, hey, I want to just manage your social media for you, make content for you, and just help you grow your business in that aspect, I mean, that's a great way to add value to people. And people don't really see this. That don't expect anything in return. But usually the case is that person is going to pour into you so much value, because not only are you helping them with something that they need, you're helping bring value to their business and to their life. So that person's going to be like, this kid, like, or this person, maybe you're not a kid, maybe you're a grown man, is really really positively impacting me and adding so much value to me. Like, I'd feel bad just taking all that value. I want to give some, he's going to try even harder to give you more value, or he or she is going to try to give you more value than you are giving to him.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the principles in the Go Giver, which we were talking about the other night, of course, not on the podcast. And you can give him a shout out if you want, the social media. I will probably have him on here soon.
Yeah, Leo Valentino no, that's his name, Leo Valentino. He's a boss. He's a social media freak.
Mm.
Um, but his way of adding value is using his social media and then helping other people build up their brands as well. And it's genius because of people need that, because the value behind social media is, frankly, you're able to expand the amount of people that you're able to reach and add value to. And when you're adding value to that many people, I mean, I'm seeing it in my DMs. I have like 1,300 followers. I'm seeing it in my DMs. People are like, when people start to see you a certain way, they want to learn from you. They don't want to learn from Brandon Turner. They want to learn from you because maybe you relate to them more and things like that. So the value behind social media is big, and Leo is like a huge example of that.
Yeah, he got like 1 million followers in 20 days, so he's legit.
Jabbar, I did want to go back a little bit. I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. I did want to go back all the way to the woman that you were talking on the phone and your hand was shaking and you had to act like you hung up the phone because you were so nervous. And there was so much friction in that conversation, right? And as you prolonged, you kept going. You kept throwing it in GroupMe's, discords, telling everybody about your dream. It became frictionless. Like there was no friction because you've done it so many times. You just started building that habit. Every day you do one, two, two, three, three, three. And I just wanted to point that out to everyone listening. Is it might feel uncomfortable the first time, right? But as you do it multiple times over and over again, Jabbar just said the deals are coming to him now. He's not having to scramble and there'd be so much friction to put all this together. So I just wanted to highlight that journey. And Atomic Habits is a great book, and I hope everyone takes a look at that. I got the audiobook and it's changed the way I think, and just wanted to connect that with your story today.
I started listening to Atomic Habits again this morning.
Oh, yeah.
2 months in a row.
I'm actually listening to it right now.
I feel like everybody is. I've seen it everywhere, and I listened to it in December, and I'm listening to it again this month.
Yeah, because you told me to listen to it, so I was like, all right, I'll throw it in there, and it's really great. Like I'm starting to implement some of the stuff that I'm learning, and some of the stuff, like frankly, you may already be doing, but it just, once you like put that framework behind it, the gears start turning, and then it's going to be crazy to see how like these intentional habits change for the better, or change us for the better in the near future.
Mm-hmm. And same with the compound effect. It's a very similar book, and it's definitely worth reading also.
Yeah, that one's great.
That's the one Ian's on.
Yeah, I've been listening to that as an audiobook every morning. And it's just like the way that the author reads it, he's just so in it. It really pulls you in. It's I bet you it's kind of similar to the Atomic Habits one. It's just all about the little things,
Yeah. It's very similar, but I'd recommend both of them because they're both really good. It really just puts you in the right mindset because you become aware of everything, because it's talking about how the tiny little things compound over time and and affect you in the long run, good or bad. So it's like as you've been listening to it all day or in the mornings or whatever, you start to intentionally think about everything you eat, or like going a little bit longer when you work out, or like literally everything, doing one more phone call, doing one more rep of everything, because one is not that much to do today, but one every day for 10 years is thousands more than you would have done. So it's, good or bad, either way, everything's compounding. And I feel like I might just keep those two books in the rotation for a little bit, just to keep that on my mind, until you build the habits, because it does take a while to build a habit.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually like that you said that, Tim, because like, like that, the whole, I don't think it's cliche. I think it was like a study done about like your 10,000 hours. And it's like, like you just, when you want to be like really excellent, really great at something, you got to like put your 10,000 hours into it. Like some of that stuff, like if you think, you don't even think about, but subconsciously when you're doing that repetition of just making yourself better or like self-improving, like just imagine what that turns you into, because 10,000 hours, you're not locking it or anything, but because it's just so part of like your daily rotation, your daily routine, you're just putting in 10,000 hours over, let's say, a 5-year, 10-year period of time is just getting better, like being the best version of Ian and Nick and Tim that you can be, which is and then because you look up to these people, right, who probably put in those 10,000 hours, and you're like thinking like, how did they get there? Or like, wow, like these people are really high level, but they just started where we're at, like, or where we are, or where we're going, just like putting in the hours of just constantly improving. So
yeah, and the exciting thing to realize is that a lot of them probably didn't start as early as us. You know, us being here at 20, 21, 22, got a lot of time ahead of you to put in those 10,000 hours potentially.
And then also, it takes me to ask you about, you said you're in the Marines, correct?
Yes, sir.
My grandfather was in the Marines, and I just know that it really, and also our friend Jordan, who's in the Marines, I know it really builds a very strong mindset. And so, like, do you think some of the habits and, like, maybe your routine have, like, really affected who you've become in the last couple of years?
See, I always start with telling people no. I like to be cocky and say I did it myself. But to be honest, the answer is yes. Because, like, I do think, like, something, when you start a habit and you get past that, like, honeymoon phase of, like, starting a new habit, it kind of starts to suck. But like my entire life just sucks. But I'm like used to it, right? I'm gonna be honest here. Like, just being a Marine is just not easy. Sometimes it's maybe not all physical. It's just some of the things that you are forced to do. You just get used to doing things even though you don't want to do them, right? Like, I didn't want to go on. It felt so uncomfortable. Asking people to, like, partner. I felt like I was asking them for money. Now, like, I know I'm giving them an opportunity, and like, this is better than what they have going on. So I'm not even pitching them or selling them or anything. I'm just literally telling them this is what I'm doing, and this is how I think you could benefit from it. But doing that at first sucked, right? But I'm just so used to it, doing things that suck, that things just don't bother me as much. Like, I wake up every morning at 4, and that's definitely easier for me to do that because, like, I got training around it. I have to do that even when I don't want to do it, and like I have no choice. So doing that on my own, doing that on my own definitely is a lot easier because I'm just used to it. And then the last thing I'll say is just like you just get, in terms of like processes and then following like a system. I feel like a lot of military in general, it's just we're taught to execute. So then all these like skills that aren't related to real estate or business kind of like sort of translate a little bit, and then you're just like kind of already used to that because you've done it. You just didn't really think about it relating to like something like this. So,
well, what is the daily routine of a Marine?
So it depends. I could talk about my tomorrow because that's the one thing that sucks, right? It changes up on you too. Once you get comfortable, then it's something else. So tomorrow I'm going to wake up at probably 3 a.m. because I have to be at the armory to draw weapons for 4 a.m. I mean, this is not a normal day, but this is literally tomorrow. Then I'm going to go and it's going to be cold. I'm going to go on a bus to a range. I'm going to shoot on that range. It's going to be super cold. And then during the day, I'm going to be waiting for other people to shoot on that range. And then I'm going to be pulling pits. So I'm going to be like holding up the target for them to shoot on. And then waiting all day long, wondering why can I not just leave since I'm done? And then I'm probably going to get home at like 6. And then the food that I'm going to be eating also is not going to be that great. I'm going to be like, why can't I eat anything else right now? Like Domino's is right there. Everyone has to be the same. So you guys have to all eat an MRE, which is like space food. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's disgusting. And then I still have to work out. I still have to do things to move the needle forward in my business after 6. And I'm going to be exhausted. And that's just going to be my tomorrow. And that's a little bit different, out of the ordinary, but it's never like I said, like just different things just change. So it's not like always like this is what you're going to be doing every single day per se, because you're going to get sent somewhere where the routine is going to be entirely different.
Jabbar, I did want to add something in there, and going back to the Atomic Habits, he has a point in the book where he says, you know, we speak a lot like we have to do this, we have to do that. And he's like, just switch those two words, get and have. And I've been doing the past couple of days. Like I get to wake up in the morning and, you know, brush my teeth and take a shower. I get to call Tim, Jabbar, and talk about, you know, random stuff for 2 hours on the phone, real estate, all kinds of stuff we were talking about. I get to have this podcast, and it makes you, you know, it just put way more gratitude in what you're doing every single day. So I heard you saying I have to, and I catch myself saying all the time, but people listening to this podcast, just throw that in your vocabulary. You know, I get to go work out to the gym and make my biceps bigger and get the juicy bumps, you know, and I just want to throw that in there because I think it's so important for us to remind ourselves that to be grateful every single day, just to, you know, to open our eyes and be alive.
I get to shoot weapons tomorrow.
That's right.
in the cold and stand there and eat disgusting food.
I get to be cold. I get to be cold.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I want to make all these examples, but none of them really compare to what you have to do as a Marine. So I just keep them to myself. Like the other day, I took my dog out in the rain and she would not go, and we were out there for like 15 minutes in the rain. Like that probably doesn't compare to most of the things you've done, but it sucked. And when, you know, a few years down the road, when the dog's not around anymore, I'll probably wish I could take my dog out in the rain. So
yeah, gratitude.
Yeah.
Speak of the miracle morning. Talk about the miracle morning that you've been doing, Jabbar, the savers, and kind of break that down for everyone. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so I do the miracle morning every day. I've only missed a day, and I started February of 2021. Yeah, 2021, and it's January now. And I missed one day only because I got the COVID shot, and I was like messed up. I literally was like having seizures in my tent. But basically, every morning I work on myself. So I do have a moment of silence, meditation. Then I do some affirmations. I have like a YouTube playlist where it just has me repeat different affirmations. And then like I visualize like, let me go back. I have some gratitude. So I visualize things that I'm grateful for. And then I visualize things that I need, that I want, things I want to achieve, things I want to have happen in like a better life for myself and things like that. And then I exercise, I go to the gym and look good, you know, pumping that iron. And then I read, get educated, get smarter, equip my mind to be something better. And then I journal. And my journal's a mixture between me writing down my goals and then me planning out my day and reflecting on the day before. So all those things, I think have definitely changed my life, but because you just start your day off with wins. Like you just woke up like and got better. And that feels amazing. And it's really exciting, but then you also like get time to yourself to really like just grow. And I think that's really important because, you know, you get so busy with the minutia of the day. But being able to take a moment for yourself at the beginning of the day to just work on yourself, I think is extremely valuable, and everyone should do it.
Thank you for breaking that down, Jabbar. I mean, just this morning I do Tony Robbins priming, where it's like, you know, 3 things you're grateful for, pray about those 3 things, and then three of your top priorities. And I was doing it this morning. I was like, man, this is kind of taking a long time. And I had that thought come in my mind, and throughout it just prepared me for the whole day. You know, just so many things came in the day, and I was just so grateful. I mean, some amazing things. And I mean, you might not realize at the moment what you're doing, but you're creating something so powerful within you to connect with your body and your mind and just listen to yourself, and also visualize what you want in the future and take that time in the morning to do that. And it just rocket launches you throughout the day, throughout the week. If you just take that small amount of time and do that and just really take care of yourself, make yourself stronger, and have those tiny wins. And I know Tim's doing the
daily 5.
The daily 5. If you want to talk about that a little bit, Tim.
Oh yeah. So the daily 5. The daily five is something that JD Frost came up with, where you want to beat the sun up, so wake up before the sunrise. 2, exercise. You're gonna train, train a skill. We do Cardone University training every day. You're gonna do a devotion or meditate, whatever you want to do there, and your daily ledger, which is where you write down your goals. And it's just 5 things you want to get done before you go to work. You don't have to get it done before work, but if you do, you're starting your day off with 5 wins right there. Did I hit all 5 of them? I know I counted with my fingers, but I felt like I lost track.
I think you did.
Yeah, beat the sun up, train, devotion, exercise, and daily ledger. So it's just 5 wins to get every morning, and it's just a routine of getting that 1% better every day, because 1% better every day for a year is 365% better. So who doesn't want to get that much better?
Yeah. And one thing I want to add on is I'll ask you, or Tim, how long have you been doing that for?
I started taking it seriously, if you look behind me, about 5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel different as an individual now than 5 weeks ago?
No.
No?
Not really.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that screws up my point. So huh?
I thought your point was going to be that it takes a lot more time than 5 weeks.
No. Well, it does.
It does.
I had also assumed that you were doing it for a longer time. But my point with saying that was that every year, one of my biggest goals when I reflect on the year is I want to feel different and be in a different place and be different than the person was a year ago. Me, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. So me, every year I can look back and I know I feel different. I know I am different than the person I was a year ago. And just seeing that compound growth, I am excited for the person I'm going to be even 5 years from now, because I know it's going to be completely different than the person I am today. But it's all a product of those daily habits that we do and commitments to ourselves to get 1% better every single day in the mornings.
I totally agree with that. Since I've started listening to the compound effect in the morning, I found that maybe just feeling inspired in the morning or feeling educated in the morning has me feeling extremely excited and inspired throughout the day, just by a simple a chapter in the morning. It's maybe 20, 30 minutes of listening max, and I feel like a different person. And Tim, it didn't take me 5 weeks. It took me I don't know, did this a week maybe? Really good, man.
I did want to throw in one more thing about the atomic habits is when you model someone. And, we've had the amazing opportunity to be with you, Jabbar, and be around all these people in the real estate community and see at a high level what people are doing. And you model those people. But, we can have huge goals, but we fall to our systems. And what I've really liked about the atomic habits is if you don't have systems, you're going to free fall. I've done a couple of times, and you just lose total motivation. You're like, frick, I just lost all the motivation I had to be this, to model this person. And what Atomic Habits has really allowed me to do is having those, you brush your teeth and then you take a shower. And after you take a shower, you make some coffee. And after you make some coffee, you do your daily 5. You do your savers. You do your Tony Robbins priming. And after your meditation, then you make a call. And then you go do this. And so every action has a link after it. And you do that link, and that's how you make your system throughout the day, and you compound those habits and keep building your system stronger and stronger, and you'll reach your big goal.
He says in the book that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So you want to, like you were saying, you want to set those systems, because that is the baseline. I'm going to at least do this every day. If I at least, wake up at a good time, read a book, do some training, work out, all this. If I at least do all of those, I'm going to be in a pretty good spot compared to, where I was last year. And to go back, yeah, I was thinking more physically when you were saying, do I feel like a different person? But mentally, yes. And I think in the last 5 weeks or so, I've listened to about 12 audiobooks, and I literally feel 12 books different than I was last month. That's really a big difference that I've seen. I literally feel like I'm 12 books different of a man than I was in November or early December. It's
tell the listeners the book goal for the year.
It was 60 books, but I know I'll hit that. It's audiobooks. Audiobooks, you could fly through them. And
nah, man, that still counts.
yeah, but so I live like 35 minutes from downtown, and I at least drive, there and back like twice a day. So that's like 2 hours a day. You can fly through some audiobooks, listen to them 2 hours a day.
That's how we're gonna talk to each other from now on. Dude, I feel 5 books different right now.
I really do. Like that. And that was a thought I had, and I was at 9 books when I made the realization. But I was like, I'm literally 9 books different than I was a month ago, and like that's some serious growth. And
absolutely.
And I think Ian asked me, like, how much do you really retain when you listen to an audiobook? And the truth is way more than if I chose to read it, because I probably wouldn't have read it, knowing myself. Yeah. Like, I have a lot of these books behind me, and most of them I haven't read. I've listened to most of them. I listened to the 10X Rule twice in a month. But
and after that conversation we had about the audiobooks, that's whenever he got me to download Audible. And I've actually
for real. Like, I like the idea of reading, but I know myself. I probably won't do it, but I'll listen to, 10 audiobooks in a month.
Yeah, Tim, you are really good at selling people on stuff, because I downloaded Audible right after you told me what you were doing with Audible.
I've sold you a lot of stuff.
Well, and yeah, kind of bouncing off that, Jabbar, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned in the last 12 months?
Ooh. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's I actually think that going back to relationships, I'm going to keep pressing there. Actually, I think that the greatest lesson that I learned was like, you're one relationship away from like your life changing. I know I said it before, but really, truthfully, the result of like my success so far has been the result of people that I've met, right? Being on this podcast, meeting Tim, being able to buy my first and second property was a result of a relationship. Me being able to rent out my first property was the result of a relationship. Me being in a book for bigger pockets is a result of a relationship. So I think that it really this past 12 months really taught me is just like to prioritize those relationships, because those are the things that are going to like just those are going to have huge ROIs that I can't even calculate, right?
I always wonder if just the way that we do it, because we don't really prep anyone with that question, if we're really getting the greatest lesson they learned or just the first one that came to mind. But I do think that probably was a really good lesson. But I always wonder that, because when people ask me stuff like that, whatever comes to my mind is what I'm saying, because I don't want to sit there and in the awkward silence.
Yeah.
And Joe, I just want to add something. It's hard to, for me at least, to grab a hold of these, our long-term, project, long-term ROIs. All the people that we're meeting, all the value that we're adding, what we're doing. And I mean, we're getting our instant gratification, doing deals, making money, but like these projects, these relationships that are just behind us, it's like a tidal wave, and it's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's hard to grab hold of that, the work and stuff that you're putting in. And I just loved your greatest lesson that you've learned, because I think you're totally right. It's the relationships, and just prioritizing those relationships and make sure that you're fostering those and nurturing those, because that is where, the major impact is going to come in your life. And that's what's, really going to transform your life. So absolutely loved your answer.
Yeah, man. Go ahead again.
No, you go ahead, Jabbar. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and we're in our 20s. That's it. Like, just, can you imagine? We're in our 20s. That's the craziest part.
Well, bouncing off of that, I wanted to ask you, how much of your success would you accredit to luck versus hard work?
I would say I was actually thinking about this, because you hear the conversation of like self-made millionaire. When I reach millionaire status, right, will I be able to say I'm self-made? And the answer, I think that is like a bad question, because yeah, it is luck. It is luck that I met Phil. It is luck that I had a master sergeant who ended up having money to invest with me. It's luck that um by I decided to, type in Bigger Pockets and meet Dan, and Dan eventually put me in his book and had me on a podcast. It's luck that I met Tim in a Zoom group chat. But I think the hard work portion is I'm just constantly putting myself in an environment to be lucky, which is all me. It is me intentionally putting myself in the environment. Me meeting Phil, even. I joined the Marines. I intentionally did join the Marines. I joined the Marines to meet people. I knew there's opportunities, right? So I'd say that it's probably both. It's probably more luck than hard work, right?
It's part of the equation.
Exactly. Tim, you said it best. It's literally part of the equation. Luck plus hard work equals success, let's say, and failure. Don't forget about failure. Luck plus hard work and failure equals success.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see how people answer that question, because some people might lean on luck versus some people are like, no, I put in the 20,000 hours, right? And so, like, how much credit are you going to give yourself, right? And I think you answered that very well. And there's a lot of famous quotes around luck, and I think that's a very great answer to that.
Sure. It's just you put in a lot of hard work to put yourself into a position to get lucky, is what it is. Because yeah, you'd grind your face off to save up the $200,000 to put down 30% on a cabin or whatever it takes, or you can grind to meet people that are going to have $200,000 to do that. So it's all about just putting yourself into that situation to get lucky, because you can't do anything per se to make yourself lucky.
Well,
like you could grind to earn $200,000.
Well, you could argue that everyone's lucky. It's just who takes chances on the opportunities.
That too. Yeah.
Right.
That's a really good point as well. Is that like everyone's got opportunities everywhere. Like you're super lucky. You were raised up in America. Like there's opportunities everywhere.
Exactly. Exactly, dude. And like I see a lot of people, and like, because I like to read. I'm a troll guy. So what I do sometimes when I'm bored and I have nothing to do, and like I've been productive for the day, is I have a burner account where I'll go and like troll people who are like saying like rich people deserve to pay more taxes, no one should be a millionaire, blah blah blah. But I read those comments pretty often, and a lot of people like get a lot of hate for having partners, for having people investing in them deals. Like you hear it all the time. Oh, you didn't do it by yourself. Oh, well, must be nice to have a friend with $1 million to lend you money. Like I just think it's a strategy, right? Being able to be lucky enough to partner with people, have people invest with you, is just one strategy. Yes, I could have done it by myself, but it would have taken me many years longer. At the alone, my trajectory was I'd probably get out the military with doing a house hack a year, maybe two in that last year, maybe 2 deals in my last year, and hopefully be financially free at that point. And now at my current pace, I'm on track to be financially free this year at 20 years old, which just is by using a strategy, and it involves luck definitely, to get there. So I would encourage people, not saying anyone listening to this is going to be that person I'm going to go ahead and troll on my burner account. That doesn't exist. But just pointing that out there, it's just like everything that people are doing in terms of like partnering deals, investing, having these relationships that are quote unquote lucky or unfair. It's just a strategy of getting there, and some would argue it's faster. So
yeah, I see those comments all the time, like on Gary Vee's posts, and it's like, oh, if only I had my parents' $5 million wine business to fall back on, and it's like I'm pretty sure he's worth like a couple $100 million. Like that isn't what made him who he is. And also, if you do listen to his story, he made the company worth that much by like the marketing stuff he did and like building websites and wine libraries. So I don't know. There's haters out there, and they don't want to look at the whole picture and see that like it all comes back to you. Like
Yeah, and I think you said it perfectly, Tim. I think it's reframing your mind to think about you have all the opportunities in front of you. Are you going to put the work in to do it? Are you going to put yourself out there to meet those people? And those haters, are looking at it from a different angle. They're not looking at the angle you're looking at. So everybody looks at, different frames differently. So it's reframing your mind to think that way.
Yeah. Shout out to the people with limiting beliefs.
And going to that, Jabbar, what's a book that you've gifted or recommended the most?
Ooh. It can only be one.
It can be a couple. It can be,
okay. Sweet.
Yeah. Why not?
So
we make the rules.
Okay, great. Thank you to the guys who have made this possible. Bowing down. But so I have a starter pack for anyone who ever asks me how to get in real estate. What book should I read?
Ooh.
So the first book I give people, or I tell people to read, is Set for Life, right, by Scott Trench, because when we're talking, because I'm more so giving this stuff to young people, right? So when we're talking about becoming financially free younger or quickly, I think Scott kind of puts it together in like the perfect framework to say, hey, if you're trying to be financially free at 25, why the heck are you investing in your 401k? Why are you maxing that out? Like, go and buy a property or go and buy a house or have a regular brokerage account, because your goal is not to be living off that money. Your timeline is not 60 years from now; it's 35. So I love that, but a lot of people don't agree with that because they like the traditional route, which is fine. Then I tell people to read The House Hacking Strategy by Craig Curlop, and because that's going to give you your how-to. After reading Set for Life, that gives you the mindset. Craig Curlop's book will give you like that how-to, how to do it. And then the book on managing rental properties by Brandon Turner. So whether you use a property manager or you self-manage, you kind of know what goes into it a little bit so that, you're able to make decisions when buying your first real estate deal. So more so real estate related. Business-wise, I love The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Just an amazing book. So, but those three books and then the business book, that's kind of like my go-to with sharing with other people.
That's a good list. I like that you just have the package to recommend.
Pack. Yeah.
the framing the mindset and then the how-to, and then that's a good way to do it. And I like when you're talking about Scott's book. Like, if your goal is to be financially free in the next 5 to 10 years, why are you investing in your 401k? Like, why Roth IRA? Because a lot of people like ask me like, hey, you should be like maxing out your Roth IRA. And like, I don't even have a Roth IRA. I should. Like, I've known about it since I was like 14, 15. I probably should have. Like, that would have been a good place to start. But it doesn't, like, having $1 or $2 million at 65, like, it nowhere fits into my goals. Like, I write down every morning that I want to have $500,000 a month in passive income. Mm-hmm. And what's $2 million like 55 years from now? And not to sound like this,
that's your goals, right?
But that's the goal. Like,
yeah,
the long-term strategy doesn't necessarily align with that, and it'd probably be a good idea to do it. But
dude,
but I never did. I don't think it makes sense for my situation.
I don't think it makes sense for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
To steal Nick's question, what's the end goal?
Ooh, wow. I've listened to like all you guys' podcasts, and I don't remember these questions being asked. But I would say for me, because every time you think about it, right, you kind of just like keep on stretching it out further. I would say I would like to be, or I'm going to be in a place where I just want to be able to give and support causes that are important to me. So child abuse is obviously pretty important to me as someone who was abused. So that's something that I would want to fund personally with my liquidity and like impact and influence. Also, opportunities to people who don't have them as much. Like, I want to be able to go into like impoverished communities and like literally fund them with millions of dollars. Like, that's my goal, is like to get to a point where I can like freely give millions of dollars to like these different causes that matter. Because I feel like education, children, they don't really get that big of a say of how their life is going. And I want to be able to be that denominator that can help change the trajectory of their lives so they can, be more fulfilled and be happier and things like that. So I guess that's the end goal, just life-wise, is being able to freely give. And obviously that means if I'm able to fund these passions, right, with millions of dollars freely, then I'm in a position financially myself where I have the opportunity to do that. So that's kind of what I'm pushing for, because I already know I'm going to be financially free. I already know I'm going to be able to take care of my parents and take care of my family because I'm putting in the work to get there. But that is something where it's like, this is what you're here on earth to do.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely love that, Jabbar. And I heard Brandon Turner say something at the end of the conference, and he was like, you know what's in my mind? I just want to buy a big multifamily, do a bunch of value add stuff, refinance it, and just donate it. Donate the whole, the refinance portion, all the money that you pull out, and just donate it. And I just had a weird vision to see us doing that down in the future, all of us, doing a donation project and making that impact. I don't know. It's kind of a weird comment I threw in there, but I remember that just came back to my mind, Brandon Turner saying that. But I think that's so important. I think Big Brother, Big Sisters program, something I did in college, and seeing kids grow up in that space of being the man. And, my little brother was the man of the house when he was like 8 years old. And his attitude when I go hang out with him, I was like, wow, him having to make the decisions, and he grew up so fast. He grew up, it was like 16, but he was 8, and it was just I was so grateful to have that opportunity to do that. But I absolutely love the impact that you want to make on communities that need it.
Yeah.
Someone has to do it.
Someone has to. That's the goal, just to be able to give as much as you want in abundance to where you could actually change lives, and just as much as you want, like all the time. Change as many lives as you want. That's the goal.
Yeah. I write this one down every morning, is I want to impact 1 billion lives. And so I don't even know how to track that or what that looks like, but that goal excites me the most out of all the goals that I write down in the morning, like just being able to impact 1 billion lives. Because you've left a huge legacy, dude.
Yeah.
So,
that is awesome. And that should be a question we ask everybody. What goal excites you the most?
Oh,
Ooh.
Tim.
Ooh, good one. That came straight from Jabbar.
Oh yeah, I'll take my commission later.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well,
I'm just kind of at a stargaze on the next question. Jabbar, where can more people find out about you?
Yeah.
Keep you out what you're doing.
Yeah, so I am pretty active on Instagram. So Jabbar_investor. So that's JABBAR_investor, not like store like star, because I'm a movie star. That's me. That's me on Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on Bigger Pockets at Jabbar Adesada, and same thing with Facebook and Cheeks Freaks. So I'm active on Instagram, I'd say the most, and Cheeks Freaks the most as well, because that's kind of where it all started. So, yeah.
And Jabbar, before we head out of here, is there any golden nuggets that you want to leave our listeners with before you head out?
Yeah. To anyone who's listening to this, I just want to tell you, when you are going through your journey and going through your path, just make sure that you're drawing inspiration from others, because I see a lot of comparison. Don't compare yourself to other people, because that steals your happiness, right? derive inspiration. So like someone sees me, right? Because like someone sees me, they're like, oh, he owns this real estate and he has this X amount, and he's only 20 and I'm 43. What am I doing? Well, don't say that. Say like, wow, this kid like did that at 20. Like that means I can do this easily, at 45, because he's only 20 and he has way less experience, blah, 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 than me. So derive inspiration when you're listening to stuff like this and from other people's stories and journeys.
I love that. You're full of golden nuggets. One more. Come on.
Oh god.
No. Unless you got one on the top of your mind. But that's great. It's been awesome talking with you. Thanks
yeah, extreme honor, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
that means I've made it when I've been on the Student of the Game podcast.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Impacting 1 billion lives. Jabbar Adesada. Is that how I pronounce it? Adesada?
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. It's actually not that hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tim,
all
you want to sign us off?
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening. This is Tim Stone with Nick Galbraith and Ian Cushing. We are signing off.